One of the things that we do, well, the first thing we do is at the end of the season, after the chlorine dissipates from the water, we dump the pool. We have the plumbers come in. Everything's winterized. All the water's blown out of the lines. Everything is checked to make sure that it's dry. Everything that can be taken down and put away, diving boards, all the things that are obviously removable that can come down and be sheltered for the season are sheltered. The pool is then, we inspect the pool and we look for any issues that have occurred, any problems that may have arisen during the pool season. We make a list of items that we're going to work on or do for the following season. Every year since 2007, we have had to do patching in the west pool.
I'm talking about maintenance of the filter equipment.
The filter equipment.
I know the pool needs to be
patched. The filter equipment, the filters, the filter fins and stuff are checked to make sure that they're tightened and good and set on there. The filter pit area itself is locked up. The electrical stuff is all turned off and checked for the year, and then the pumps are looked at. Most of the time they're greased and oiled, and they get bumped throughout the season. We come over and we bump them to make sure that they're still working and coming on, and just to keep them
good preventive
maintenance on
them.
Okay. And I can also tell you those pumps have been, each of the recirc and the low lift, especially low lift pump, about every 3 years has to be taken off and rebuilt.
Yeah.
So one of the other things you've got going on with this pool is dedicated in 56, I said, is that right? Yes, 56, and we're up to 2011. There's still a lot of the existing piping that goes through that pool. The piping in the pool is ductile iron. They no longer use ductile iron pipe to build pools. In 1996, they primarily did not use ductile iron piping to build pools, but they did with our pool. Those pipes, as you'll see when we go over there, are rusting at a what I would call an alarming rate. The pipes, we'll see a few of them, but there's a surge tank that we won't be able to get to because Funky Mama will be doing her funky thing over there. But there's another pipe we will get to take a look at. They're submerged under the water to begin with. You can't even really see where any of the original pipe was. It is all rust. There are pieces, if you reach down, that you can pull off in layers of those pipes. Those pipes are throughout the pool, buried under concrete, buried in underwater in surge tanks. They are in the filter pit. When those pipes go, good luck. Because you're looking at digging up things, trying to find. When one spot goes, that's an indication that many other spots go. The useful life of a ductile iron pipe is about 40 to 40 years. We're past that by a ways. Our ductile iron pipe is on AARP, so that is to me, that is one of the bigger issues that we're facing. As those pipes begin to corrode and go bad and leak and cause problems, pretty much you'll be done. You won't be able to recirculate water. You won't be able to do any of the things you can do, and you'll cease to be able to use the pool once those pipes go bad. We are currently leaking water from the pool. If you've gone over the pool, you'll see that we usually have garden hoses in the pool to help keep the water level up. There's water going into the creek every day. It's about, I would describe it as a constant flow of a little bit more than a garden hose that is going through the pool. We found a substantial leak in the gutter system of the west pool in 2009. 2009, that area was
it's been leaking.
Patched, but it's been leaking for forever. But the leak is not getting better, and the leaks, I think, are coming from a variety of places. And we've had dye testing done. We've had different areas, and the only substantial leak we've been able to find was the one in that west corner. But there are certainly a variety of places, and some of those leaks, because we haven't been able to find them, it is very possible that some of those leaks could be coming from areas in the piping.
Is there any environmental concerns with that, as far as with Johnson County Environmental?
I think there would be there's environmental concerns about dumping chlorinated water into the creek, most certainly. So that's something that needs to be taken into account and considered. And
Of course, it's very low level, of course, but
Yeah.
What, gallon wise, what do you think you're losing a week?
About 10,000 a day.
About 10,000 a day?
A day? That's 24 hours, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
is that evaporation and leakage, or that's just what you're adding every day to the pool?
That's just leakage.
Your leakage?
Yeah.
Is there the study from '08, are the results of either an entire new aquatics facility in here as opposed to just fixing the problem?
The study indicates replacement, doesn't it? It doesn't put
It does both.
It does both. It does both.
I didn't know if there was a real cost differential.
Well, it did both, and I'll give you my little paraphrase, and you can go through it and read it, but the bottom line was, there was a $3 million investment that needed to be made to fix certain things, but it wouldn't fix our overall problem, and it wouldn't fix the bottom portions of the leakage that was ultimately going to fail. The estimate to replace the entire pool complex was $5.5 million, and so that was at that time we opted not to throw good money after bad because it didn't make a lot of sense to put $3 million into something when it wasn't going to correct the problem or extend the useful life of the pool. Well, and I beg your pardon?
I said due to economics and that, the pool cost will go up over time. Replacing it at 65, the economic cost will continue to go up.
Right, and that's right. That's right. And one of the other thing that you'll see in here, based on the feedback from the citizens of Mission when we did that feasibility study, is that the residents like what we have. They like having a racing pool. We like having a recreation pool. Some of the, maybe have some more screening or a walk-in, some amenities in the recreation pool, have some more screening in the, I'm going to call it the baby pool with maybe a few splash things. People didn't want a water park. We liked having the swim team be here, and so I mean, I think those are things you're going to see that were in place, is that 25-meter 8-lane pool, which is not an Olympic-sized pool. Olympic-sized pool is a 50-meter pool, so I just don't want anybody confused on that. Being a former swimmer, I'm sort of sensitive to that. When somebody mentions an Olympic-sized pool, that's a 50-meter pool, but ours is a 25-meter pool, and that seems to be very well supported by the community. But these are things we need you to go through and wrestle with. To go ahead and make that recommendation. Yes, Bill?
Is that 5.5 to replace the whole pool?
Yes.
The whole pool complex?
Yes.
Take out the kiddie pools, the laps, the lanes, and all that?
Yes. It's to completely redo do it, and also with the bathhouse. It was to do a whole, and that was about 2000. So that was probably about 3.5 years ago. And one of the things that I do not know, because I wanted to go through with this task force, is if we send that out to bid, because I don't think we need to bring folks in to do more, consulting anymore. I think we're ready to make some. This is why I put you all together, because I think we're ready to make some decisions. Is that would it come back under what the estimate was? And that's something I don't know. I know with our road projects, those have been coming in under the estimates that we've had for projects. This may very well as well, I don't know, but we still have to figure out if we choose to go forward with it, is how we're going to pay for it.
Laura,
Yes,
was that bid any type of expansion over what we have now?
It was, well, you'll see it in, it's all in here, and we'll be discussing that at a later one, but it's to have the racing pool, it's to have a recreation pool, and it's to have the baby pool, it's to have some screening, possibly some shading seating, I think for swim team, and then to have an upgraded bathhouse. Because I mean, as you and I both know, and those of us who grew up and came to the Mission Pool, I mean, it was fairly sparse when we were kids. And,
oh yeah.
And it's, and it still is, but with the way the ADA is and other features that you can build into things, and just with the upgrading of I think materials and technology, there would be some changes made to it.
Okay.
One question, are we looking at using the same pool area or moving to a new area?
Well, that was considered in the feasibility study, and I think what came back was continuing to use Anderson Park. That is something, I mean, we could discuss on if it should be, you know, resituated or relocated. I don't know what that would do, you know, would cost.
Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Hey, Laura, I got
Yes.
a little comment about that. You know, you can have a great project as far as, again, my opinion as far as, I'm just getting all this information tonight, and I'm just using kind of what I know through my background. And I know if a ductile pipe is concreted in for 40, 50, 60 years, when it goes, there's nothing to do about it.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gone.
It's done. So putting $3 million in fixing things on the top side, and if something goes wrong the week after, it's basically money thrown down the drain. But that location is, and my wife and I have talked about this, you can have a great, you know, remastered pool and spend $5.5 million or whatever it may be, but the location is very important too. And the times that I've been to the pool, what's dropping off kids and going to the pool myself, is parking issue. Okay, and I know that you probably know this. You know, there's nowhere to park. So I guess through this feasibility type studies of if there is going to be a new pool, is looking at, is that location big enough to do what we need to do, but then increase parking? You see, a lot of times people have this attitude where they won't go because they know they can't park. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have this beautiful pool, and there's nowhere to park, the frustration of that, especially at swim meets, things like that. So I would just say, keep that, you know, in mind as far as the footprint of what this pool would take with adequate parking. So,
In that study, did they take that into consideration, the parking problem?
I think they did discuss
They
also
did.
parking.
Did they?
You know, of course, back in the old days, and I'll use, when I was a kid, I mean, we walked or rode our bikes.
Right.
It wasn't a driving thing, but yes, it does discuss parking, and it does discuss availability of parking. And one of the things that we have to, you know, also discuss as a city is having maybe some bridging over the creek so that you can easier access to parking at the community center and then on the, you know, on the north side of Morrow Way. Because you know, I'm not sure where you would build in more parking right around this area. Also, when we looked at the pool, one of the things that we have issues with is our city hall. Our city hall is not ADA compliant, and that's something. And when it was added on, built and then added on to, there are a number of deficiencies that were created through, you know, sort of cost-cutting measures, which I think ultimately cost us more in the long run. And so we had, you know, considered if we redid everything at once to try to figure out, you know, work in some of the parking. But this is just about the pool, but absolutely we need to have that on. We need to have those suggestions as well.
Yeah.
Bill?
With this 5.5 million, replacing of that, was that an Olympic-sized pool, replacing it with an Olympic-sized pool?
It was replacing it with what we had, which was a 25-meter pool,
It's
which
not
is
a-
not an Olympic
Yeah.
size. 8 lanes, 25 meters.
Okay, so-
Olympic-sized pool is a 50-meter pool.
Okay,
We
so-
don't have a 50-meter pool.
Yeah.
We have a 25-meter
So
pool.
we're just replacing what?
We're replacing what we have. To find a place for us to have a 50-meter pool, if we're going to build a 50-meter pool, it would need to be 10 lanes. And I don't know that we've got, you know, that there's much space in our area to have, you know, to have a pool of that size, or really a need at this point. I think they don't, even when they built their new thing up in Gladstone, they didn't do that. But, you know, but what we've got with that, having that 25-meter pool and the 8 lanes, I think is also part of why some of the swim meets are so successful, because you've got the ability to race additional kids in the heat.
And MoCan doesn't use a 50 in Olympic anymore. Even the teams that have one, we no longer can use.
You don't use 50-meter pools at all?
We do short course now, so.
Well, because the time standards are different. Whether you're in a long course pool, Bill, which is the 50-meter pool, or whether you're in a short course pool. And to completely confuse things, when you're in the when you're in a winter season, they race in 25-yard pools. So, there you go. We can get into a real esoteric conversation about that sometime, which my favorite is. I won't tell you right now. But, so are we good? What, at the next meeting, I'm not going to be in attendance at the next meeting, but that's also going to be a time for you all to choose your chair of the committee and amongst yourselves. And it won't be Mike, and it won't be Christy or Jim, or it won't be me. And but then I will be in attendance at the balance of the meetings as you work through this book. I think most, if not all, of the information that you're going to need or ask about the pool is going to be contained in the book, and if it's not, we'll work to get that information. And if there's something where we want to consider alternate locations, I mean, that was discussed in the feasibility study, and I mean, that's absolutely, anything's pretty much fair game to talk about. Yes, ma'am.
Not having read the feasibility study, I just have a quick question. Has let me start over. In the other cities in this area, Westwood, Fairway, Roland Park, they have quite a few aging pools as well. Has there been any kind of discussion about maybe combining forces together to come up with some kind of maybe Northeast Johnson County pool complex, anything like that?
No. Roland Park did do a partnership with Johnson County, and just sort of history behind that is, I don't know if has anyone heard of Catherine Fox? Catherine Fox she made the Olympic team. She was a resident of Roland Park. She swam with the Santa Fe Trailblazers, which are now called the Kansas City Blazers. At the time that Roland Park decided they were going to close their cave over there of a pool, it was really cool. For those of you who don't know, it was in. I mean, it was built in some bluffs over east of Rowe, but they needed to build a new complex. They had acquired, I think that was Skyline Elementary School, and they worked with the county to build that, because at the time there was not a 50-meter facility for the Blazers to practice in Johnson County, and I know that quite well because we used to have to train at Forbes Field over in the wintertime. A lot of times at Forbes Field in Topeka, or go down to Wichita, where they actually had a 50-meter pool that was bubbled. So they added 3 lanes that they could put the bulkhead in, along with the 25-meter training facility and the diving well. At that time, using monies from the county, and also they did kind of a partnership between the cities. Westwood doesn't have a pool. Fairway does have a pool. They've done some upgrades in their outdoor pool. Prairie Village has redone their pool, and they did sort of an outside complex. We do offer a super pass that Mission and several of the Northeast cities participate in for, I think, isn't it $30 for an additional family, that you can pay that to go and utilize all the different pools. But we have not discussed having one larger complex. I think all of us are built out, and the question would be is, if you're going to build a larger complex, where would you put it?
On the Sun newspaper, there was an article about Overland Park possibly closing one of their pools.
The Rowe pool at 103rd and Rowe.
Is that where it was? Okay, I wasn't sure where it was.
Yeah, it's right sort of by that suburban lawn and garden.
Oh yeah.
Over there, almost the 435 highway.
Oh yeah.
Overland Park did discuss closing the Marty pool, which was at 74th and Marty, I think, 73rd and Marty. And I mean, the public was extremely against that, and not only did they not close it, but they replaced it.
Yeah. It's been several years ago.
It's probably 10.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Did, I don't know, the feasibility study, was it addressed at all about possibly doming the, if we redid the structure at the outside pool right now and making it?
I don't remember if that's in there, but I think that's been bounced around. I don't remember though. That is an added expense just with the pressure of, but yeah, but that's
and
something.
making it used, be able to be used all year round.
Then that's all for you guys to go through and discuss. That if replacing it's what is the recommendation, then what we want that to look like, and how we're going to pay for it. Because if it goes to a sales tax, it'll go to the residents to vote on that. So, yes, ma'am.
Is there any possibility of general obligation bond issuance for this?
Well, what you'd probably do is issue bonds, and the sales tax part would be what would pay the bonds off. Because if
Right.
you do, you can't
But I'm
really do
talking about
pay as you
a
go.
GEO bond issue supported
Oh,
by
the general
the
obligation?
unlimited taxing.
Well, you know, I think, and Alan, you can correct me, but I think anytime a city issues bonds and it may be tied to the sales tax, you can use any asset in the city to go ahead and ultimately pay it
Right.
off.
That's right.
So, and if you went that way, I mean, there are different options to pay for things. I mean, there's increasing the mill and having a
Right.
dedicated mill to pay for the pool. There are a number of other things. The pool has traditionally been upgraded in recreation facilities and mission, and it's been tied to sales tax. And it's been for a finite period of time, sunsetting once you collect enough money to pay off whatever the bond obligation is. One of the things that we'll discuss all along are with the different financing options, or what interest rates are and how that looks. So that,
Was that in here?
I don't know if that's all in there, but there's going to be, as we go through, we'll have our city administrator and our finance director talk to you sort of about options, financing options that are available for cities. So, and I know that's a whole lot of information, but I really wanted you to have a good overview of everything before you started reading through the book, because I think what you read is probably going to be a little more meaningful once you go through and you read it. Now, they did go through, you'll see, like, Shauna's book's open. They went through and highlighted the portions of the minutes that actually talk about the pool. Now, you can go through and read the other parts of the minutes if you'd like to. Like, one of the really interesting parts to me was back in the 50s, they were talking about parking on Johnson Drive and how employees of businesses parked in the spaces on Johnson Drive, and so patrons couldn't get into the stores, and I will tell you that's an issue we would still wrestle with today.
I would advise not straying too far from the highlight. Yeah. Someone who read all of it.
So, all right. Well, our next portion, does anybody have any questions? Your next meetings will be over at the community center. I thought we'd meet here today so that we could then, since the pool's really close, we do have our first Wednesday night Aqua Jams, and Funky Mama's going to be over there. So after you do your tour, you're welcome to stay and enjoy Funky Mama. But what we'll do is go ahead and let Mr. Montemayor, if there aren't any questions right now, lead our way. And thank you all for being here. Yes, Alan?
Yep. If some of this information isn't easier to recall Dr. Scanlon for additional information.
Yeah, why don't you do that, or email me so that I know, and then I make sure it gets disseminated to everybody on the committee. If there are
Is your
specific
email address in here?
questions. My email address should be in there. If it's not, Christy's got everybody's thing, and she'll send all that contact information so that you've got all of our contact information.
We do have another meeting starting in here in 1 minute, so.
Yeah.